Hey, pop stars, welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. So, pop stars, have you ever found yourself in a jam that regular law enforcement can't handle and you're not sure how to get out of it? It's not just a regular bind, but it's a super bind. You know, one of those clusterfuck moments. Well, if so, then call the superhero hotline at 1-888 Hero now. Check out the website for more information at superhero.request. So, Tammy, have you ever found yourself in that situation? Or if you could have a hotline to any superhero, DC or Marvel, it doesn't matter, superhero, which one would it be?
You know who my superhero would be?
Wonder Woman?
Heck yeah.
You're calling her no matter what it is.
I'm calling her no matter what it is.
I like that. Like, she would be kind of cool, but could you do it like with a clusterfuck bee if you're trying to figure out if your man's cheating on you and you'd have her use that lasso of truth? Or would it have to be like a 911 situation? Like if you called her for that, would you get fined or
I feel like if I got a connection to a superhero, then you should be coming because we obviously friends. So you should just be coming for anything I call because I ain't gonna call you for nonsense. So if I call you to check to see if my man is cheating on me, then that's something real because I'm about to kill him and I'm gonna need you to save him.
So you call, oh, in that case, you need Captain Save-A-Ho. All right, I got you. I don't know who I would call. Like, I think I just kind of keep them all on standby for just any given situation because I feel like some would be better equipped maybe to help you than others. If it's something that where it might have a morally gray area, then I'm gonna the one I would not call would be Superman's old square ass. Because you get a lecture now, this is not what. Yeah. If it's something morally gray where the lines are kind of crossing, Batman's the one. So, but I think that would be cool, though, really, to be able to have a hotline to a superhero.
Yeah,
all right. This week we get a hero origin story with the Blue Beetle. Jaime Reyes is a recent college grad who returns home with one goal: to get a good job and help save his family home. Things seem to be off to a good start when he meets billionaire heiress Jenny Cord, who promises to help him with the job, but she gifts him with something so much more valuable: an ancient alien scarab that chooses Jaime as its symbiotic host, bestowing upon him immeasurable power in the mantra of the Blue Beetle. So, Tammy, what did you think of this origin story? Was it hero worthy or does it need a can of Raid?
Not a can of Raid. I actually liked it. I did enjoy it. I would just say, to watch Blue Beetle, you have to take off your Marvel colored glasses. I think that it was a good origin story, origin movie on kind of starting a franchise. I don't know if it was the best way to go in this new Marvel universe realm that we have, where people just want huge, big, gigantic. So I don't know if it necessarily did as well in this universe that has been created, but I actually really, really enjoyed it because it also kind of goes back to how some of the origin stories were for Marvel as well as DC in their prime, that really, really connected. And I was interested. And it also kind of gave me the same feel as Shazam because I really, really enjoyed Shazam, the first Shazam that came out. And I actually enjoyed Blue Beetle as well. What about you, Eddie?
Me too. It was really good. And you know me, representation matters. So I really love seeing a Latino superhero. And love. I really wasn't familiar. I'm gonna have to apologize to steal from Shaq, to coin the line from Shaq. I'm gonna have to apologize to Blue Beetle because I really wasn't familiar with your game before. So before the movie, I wasn't familiar, but I agree. It was a great origin story. And it did kind of take you back to the days of old where you can kind of get into a hero and see where they came from without an introduction in another movie or series, and then people just kind of expecting you to know who they are, and they just kind of pick it up from there. So I think it was really great standalone. Um, I and I hate that it came out when it came out at this particular time during the writer strike, the actor strike, because I really think, I mean, it did okay, but I think it would have done so much better if it would have had the promotion that it deserved, especially from its stars. I think that it deserved that, it needed that, and I hope that the powers that be at the new WB, Warner Brothers, Zaslav and his, I don't know, I can't even, but I hope that Zaslav and Gunn, because I think this was the last movie that was officially produced under the old regime. So let me just say I'm happy that they did not do it like they did Batgirl, and that they allowed it to come out. And I think, from my understanding, that this is kind of the way that Gunn wants to rebuild the DC world, is start off with the smaller, lesser known kind of superheroes, and before he goes into, well, even though they've officially recast Superman, so he has his Superman and all that. That's a different story for a different day. But so I really hope that we do get to see the Blue Beetle grow and progress in this new DC realm. I think, from what we've seen, or from what I saw in this movie, it deserves that room to grow and that room to breathe, and to create a universe around this. Especially since The Flash, that was the movie that they probably should have put on. Went straight to streaming or whatever. But anyway, so what did you like about the movie? What were some of the things that you enjoyed about Jaime's story, Jaime Reyes's origin story?
So I liked how authentic it was. I think that I'm really getting into really liking authentic characters, because I think I've said this like multiple times for like past shows that we've reviewed and rated. So it's like the authenticity. I loved his family. I was like, I may not have always agreed with the nonsense that went on in his family, but I thought that it was a very real way to look at an immigrant family, a Mexican. They were Mexican, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To look at a Mexican family living in America, um, then him getting these powers and them just automatically supporting him and like trying to figure out like, what are we doing? How are we going to get this done? They kind of skipped over the like, oh my gosh, like what's going on kind of moment. And it was just like, everybody was just like, okay, we got to protect him. Like we have to protect Jaime, and just kind of figure out like how we're going to do this. And then when they all band together and grandma was like, okay, because it was real sad about Pop. Really, really sad. And when grandma went up to them and she was just like, we are going to have to cry later. Right now, we have to go get my grandson. And I was just like, okay, grandma. I said, go ahead and get your boy. So I loved that it was entertaining, that I don't think that there were slow moments, or at least I didn't notice slow moments. Like I felt like everything had a purpose to the storyline. I loved the ending of it when everybody kind of showed up. Although I was like, where were y'all when these people was attacking the family? But let's move on. But I loved how everybody like came together at the very end to like help them, and was like, okay, we're gonna rebuild because the neighborhood's here to help us rebuild. And I thought Susan Sarandon did a great job of being a villain, because I hated her guts. And I'm not even really a fan of hers anyway. So she just made me hate her even more. If that makes sense.
It does. I have to agree with you. I loved his family. They were like, grandma was a G. Like
She was.
grandma stole the show. Like I even wrote down, I know it's not gonna happen, but you know how you get those little spin-off little graphic novels or little, I'm like, I could do with grandma's origin story back in the days when she was fighting the revolution and shit. Like, that tapped into grandma's old gangster side.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, grandma was wilding out, then she kind of got married. Because at one point when she said the love of my life, and they were like, Grandpa, she looked and she goes, no. I was like, yeah, that's a woman with a story or two to tell. Um, so I love that. But yeah, grandma was gangster, and I thought, and that kind of goes to show what you said about her, um, our resilience, women of color, black and brown. We seem to have this resilience about us, where you know like you said, pop, it was sad, and it came to that time and place. Like we can't give into this sadness now, and it kind of goes to how even now how we still have to how we live, how we have to think about things and compartmentalize things. It's like I don't have time for this breakdown. I know it's gonna come, but I can't do it now because if I break down now, I don't know how I'm gonna stop the waterworks. Like I ain't got time for this shit right now. Breakdown, I know
Mm-hmm.
you coming, but I'm gonna have to push you to the side till I get a moment to breathe because I got shit to do in the meantime. And I was like that part hit home because I was like, yeah, I felt that like what just happened was fucked up. That's my son. I'm going to mourn him. We are all going to mourn him, but we cannot do that now. We don't have time for that now. We've got to go save Jaime now. And after that, because after all of it was done, she says, and now we cry. And I'm like, I felt that. I like that hit me in the feels. I was like, yeah, yeah. And I was just like, I guess that's just one of those universal women of color type things. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, um, having to be strong to carry that mantle. And I agree with you. And I think I don't know, obviously not, but I don't know if studio heads or whoever they're listening to the people who don't want all of this AI prescriptive algorithm type stuff. We're tired of those movies. We want movies with authenticity, with characters that we can relate to. And a computer can't do that. It can't give you human characters where you see the humanity in them. And I think also, like you said, it would kind of skip over that whole, wow, what is happening type thing. And it's like, because I think, just ingrained in some of our cultures and heritage, we believe in the supernatural to a extent where we know that there's a power higher than ours. So,
Mm-hmm.
and if you study the ancient Egyptians, and they were not monotheistic, they were polytheistic, and they had all these gods and different things and different powers and stuff that they believed in. So I don't think the whole, especially when you learned that the scarab was from had an ancient alien type quality, I don't think it freaked them out too much. And I also think probably because everything was happening so fast, they didn't really have time to sit there and go, what the. It was like, okay, this thing is in me. I want it out. How are we going to solve that? But yeah, so I love the family. I also thought it was cast perfectly. Like Zolo Marginwena is his name. And he played Jaime Reyes, and I loved it. Like I also loved his sister. His sister was the queen of keep it real.
Yeah.
So I love that. And it dealt with the realness of the gentrification in a corporate billionaire. And I think the one place, and you were right, there really weren't any slow scenes. And when you said it about Susan Sarandon, I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of hers. Um, but I don't know. I wasn't overly impressed with her role as a villain. I thought about the other villains that we've seen this year, the other great villains, and I was like, she didn't quite compare. I'm glad she played the villain because I didn't have to pretend to like make a stretch, but maybe, and so I'm gonna say maybe my opinion of her performance was clouded by my own personal bias, and not being a big fan. but I thought she was really kind of and I know this is going to sound weird, considering it's a superhero movie, but I thought maybe her performance was maybe even a little too cartoony or too phoned in or something. She just didn't like the whole. I thought the person that I could have seen playing that role maybe would have been Sharon Stone. Like, and I guess that's my point. Is like anybody could have played that role to me. It wasn't just something that was prescribed. Like, unlike Jason Momoa, his role in the Fast and the Furious movie this year, I was like, that was him. Like it was made for him. Like he made it his own, and how over the top he was. Remember we talked about how it just worked, and he was like the best part of the movie. And for this, it was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I don't know, but I agree with you. As the part of she put, they had her cast as the right role. I just could have taken or left her in the role of the villain. So it didn't matter to me. I loved Paul Rodriguez. I loved him. And I was like, the taco truck. And I'm like, oh, and when he calls it Tacoma, I'm like, the taco. And I was like, oh, the Tacoma. So I kid you not, ever since I've seen this movie and every time I see a Tacoma, I'm like, ooh, a taco truck.
Oh, you mean the uncle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm George Lopez. I don't know why I said Paul Rodriguez. Excuse me.
Oh,
George
because I was
Lopez.
looking like, who's Paul
Who the, and
Rodriguez?
I was
Did
like,
I
that's
miss
the one
someone?
that, no, George Lopez. Forgive me, George Lopez. Um, Yes, the uncle, the taco truck. I loved him. Like I said, everyone was just perfectly cast, and they played their role so well. But yeah, um, what did you think about Jennifer Ford? Did you like her? Take her, leave her?
Mm, I will say that I actually liked her. She didn't take up too much space in my mind. Like I knew like she was gonna be the romance, and so like you knew that was coming. That goes back to the authenticity. Like it's kind of like they all have a love interest. You like you automatically knew she was gonna be the love interest. How it's gonna play out is how it was gonna play out. I do not think that she was a hindrance to the storyline at all, and I like that. Like she fit in very well, and that's another thing going towards his family dynamic and how much I enjoyed that, because once they realized that she was on their side, she was fully in the family. Like
Mm-hmm.
they automatically embraced her and took her in and was just like, oh, now you part of us. Like you one of us. All right. So what we do, you gonna do. And I love that. Like that goes back to like giving a family feel, because you got to realize she didn't have any family. Like the only family she did have was her aunt, and she was the villain. She was the one doing all the bad stuff. And so I really did enjoy. I was just like, is she gonna end up being a superhero as well? Because I was getting a little bit of a like Ant-Man and the Wasp vibe from her. So I was just like, does she turn into a superhero as well? And that's the future, depending on if they give a second one. But yeah, but I did enjoy her.
Yeah. I did too. And like you said, it was very. You knew she was going to be the love interest, like you said, but it wasn't prescribed. It wasn't like, oh, just waiting. I wasn't, even though the tropes were there, I wasn't just checking them off. I wasn't mentally making a checklist. Like sometimes, I watched a movie last night where it was way predictable, and I was just checking off. Like it seemed like they have the checklist of movie tropes for this type of
Mm-hmm.
movie, and it seems like they just went down the line and checked
Yep,
it off.
check the boxes.
Yeah, and so I wasn't, even though you knew, I wasn't doing that with this. It's like, okay, her connection to them was very authentic. And again, like I said, representation matters, because it's just some things like, and that's how we are. Once you're in with us, you're in with us. You're family. We know, yeah, this person trying to ruin the world and basically trying to kill my son, our son, it, and gentrifying our neighborhood and all that shit. We know you're related, but you prove to us you're not her and you're not with her. So now you're with us, and they didn't hold that against her. And like I said, I don't know. The original Ant-Man and the Wasp, I agree with you. But I don't know enough about the series itself to say whether or not she becomes a superhero. But I also like the fact that she isn't just, um, how do I put this? She's not a Lois Lane type where she's always going to be the damsel in distress.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that,
she's
you
right there
know,
with him.
yeah, like Lois gives, and that's the thing. Like Lois gives us, oh, she's this badass independent journalist, but every time something goes wrong, she has to call Superman to save her, even though she doesn't have superpowers, and Superman's going to be there. But she was right in the thick of things, even though she didn't have superpowers. She had her own thing. She was a tech. She's into the technology. She knew her dad's secret, so
Hmm.
that didn't come across. She actually is the one who got the shenanigans started when she stole the scarab, you know. Um, and so it was like you get a feeling that she's more involved than just being the pretty love interest. She wasn't just there for eye candy. And I really, really, or the pretty girl on his arm who's always going to play the damsel in distress. It's like she knew more about what was going on than they did at times, and I love that. Um, so Jaime in the scarab, Khadijah, or I can't, yeah, Khadijah, whatever. We're just gonna say Khadijah. KD, the scarab. How did I loved the connection. I loved the relationship because it really was like a relationship. They were saying that the scarab only chooses people that it thinks or knows will not basically ad libbing here will not basically abuse its powers. People that it can feel at one with, right? And
Hmm.
from the very beginning, even though they didn't quote unquote know each other, the scarab always was protective of him. And I loved how at first when we first saw the scarab and the talking, it was in Arabic or whatever, right? Even though the scarab spoke English, but then as they became more comfortable with each other and they got to know each other, and as the symbiosis started taking place, you saw the little things like that transformation, especially at the end where Jaime was just wailing on the big dude. I can't remember the big dude's name, but when Jaime was wailing on the red beetle, because that's what he becomes, that super giant, whatever. And she goes,
Carapax.
yeah, Terrapax. And she goes, no, he's down. You got to stop. And he kept wailing on him. She goes, Jaime, we don't kill. And I'm like, that's when you saw like the 180, because at first he was telling the scarab, we don't kill. No, stop. Like, can we go? And when the scarab would come out with a weapon, he's like, can we go a little less lethal? So you see that 180, and then the part where she starts speaking in Spanish, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Like I loved it. And so I just loved, like, and it kind of showed like, um that it's like, okay, they were forced together at first, or I chose you, but then you kind of see how the influence that they have on each other. Because at one point I was thinking, all right, is the beetle going to take over? Like, is he going to become fully possessed with this thing? And it's like the whole symbiotic relationship you just saw. I just liked how we got to see that transform and grow. What about you?
And I think that was the case. Like, if he hadn't been as firm in his morals and his values, then he could have been taken over by the beetle. He could have been taken over by the foreign object. But instead, I do like that there was influence. And once you said it, like I noticed it as well, the language changed based on the connection that they had. So the more they meshed together or they merged, the more that the Beatles' personality was based on what it was taught by him. And so I really did like that. I found that was funny. I didn't even know that was Becky G. Did you know that was Becky G?
Who was I saw that Becky G was in. I'm like, where did I miss Becky G? But no, I did not know that she was the voice of the scarab.
Yeah,
Because
that.
I kept wanting to go like, where was she? I was like, did she just have a mini role? And I think, and see, and that goes back to the whole. I hate that they did not get a chance to go out and promote this movie. You know, I think it did really well, just for. what it for it coming out with minimal to no promotion. Also kind of getting word of mouth out there. But because I kept wondering, I was like, where the hell was Becky G in this movie? Did I miss her? But she was the voice of the scarab. Okay, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know
She was. And so like learning that, and I was just like, okay, Becky G. Because I was like, every time because ever since Power Rangers, I have like wanted to, and granted, I know like she focuses more on her music career. That's where her focus is. But I've wanted to see her more in roles. And granted, we didn't see her face, but a role is a role. And I was very happy about that. So yeah, so it was Becky G that was the voice of it. So it was just really, I don't think she well, you know what? Let me not say I don't think she did the Arabic, because she could have. But yeah, she was definitely the voice. And so, like I said, I really love the merging and how he influenced the Beetle, but the Beetle also influenced him.
that. Hmm.
And he became more confident. He became stronger. All right. And he realized that he had to work with the Beetle. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't automatic. Like you got to figure out how y'all are going to work together. So that was definitely an enjoyable part of it.
yeah, and I love like how and like I said from the beginning, the beetle was very protective of him, and it kind of goes back to because the beetle would live on, but it's like the only way to get the beetle out of the host is for the host to die. And so I was like, oh, is that does that explain why, the beetle was so because it chose him. Like he just opened the thing and it could have gone to anybody in that room and the
But it went
evil
to him.
lady,
Yeah.
yeah, and the evil lady had it before Jennifer stole it, and so it was in a lot of different hands before it got to him, and he accidentally opened, what was it, the Burger King box, or I forgot what box it was in. It was in some fast food box.
Yes.
Um, and so I was like, but it did choose him, and then you understood why, and it's like, okay. So that was really cool. Um, but yeah. I so do you her dad? I thought that was interesting. Did you see the after credit scene?
Who is her dad?
Her dad was the original Blue Beetle.
No, no, no. I know that, but who's playing her dad?
Oh, I don't know who's going to play her dad. That's why I kind of hope. Okay, so let me ask this: do you hope for a sequel?
I do.
I
Like I
do too.
said, like I really enjoyed it, and I like going back to, and I'll keep saying it. It's my new favorite word right now: authenticity. And it's not a drone, or because I feel like Marvel has become, and don't kill me because I enjoy the movies just as much, but it's Marvel has become like the Fast and the Furious series. On You're just making movies to make movies now.
Hmm.
Like there's no purpose to it, and we discussed this when we reviewed the last Fast and the Furious. There's really no purpose to it. It's literally just doing bigger than before, right? And I think that Marvel has definitely gotten into that, and I think they're recognizing that, and they're trying to tame it down. They're trying to go back, but how much can you when it's what is now fully expected of you? Like you've already set yourself up, and so it's really really nice not to see that in a superhero movie, like to get the feelings that you got when you watched the first Iron Man, to get the feelings that you got when you watched the first Captain America, to get the feelings
Black
that you got,
Panther.
huh?
Black Panther.
When you got Black Panther, especially with the representation, right?
Hmm.
Because I was promoting, I was telling everybody, I said, go see it. I said, it's great. Mexican American family, y'all. But to get that feeling, now granted, I will, because I'm just so loyal to her, but even to get the feeling of representation that you got when you watch Black Panther, but also Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
and the success of it. And I think that's different. It's a different feel than what superheroes we've been currently getting. And that even goes back to the Flash. Like the Flash is more on what Marvel is now, kind of on just like the promotion and how they've like presented it compared to what Blue Beetle was. And so I really, really love that. Like they made me want to see it, but I didn't feel like it was in my face constantly, if that makes any sense. Like I didn't really see like the trailers all the time in my face. Now it could partly be because I don't watch that much TV like that, but I'm on YouTube a lot, and it still didn't show up. And you know, and I had it on my calendar and everything like that for it to come out. And so I really like that it wasn't like in my face all the time, but I was still interested in going and seeing it.
And there are two things about that. There are two ways to look at that. Like part of it, three ways, I guess. Part of it was because of the writers, because of the actors and writers strike, um, and the promotion route. But on the other hand, it's like I still think even though the actors couldn't get out and promote the movie, they could have the studio itself, especially when they made the decision to still put it out and not push it, they could have done a better job of promoting it just because it deserves it so much, you know? Um, and again, I think it's a great character driven story. And I agree with you going back to those originals. And I will also have to say, it's probably why the Spider-Man series is so popular, even amongst the big Marvel spectacle. Because I agree with you. As much as I love superhero movies, sometimes it feels like going back to that checklist that we spoke about earlier, you know? And now for me, sometimes it's more or less of going out of habit than it is out of really wanting to see it.
And an
So I
excitement.
yeah, so I don't miss a part. So because I'm invested in the story now to a certain extent, but where's the story going? Because sometimes I feel like I have to watch everything because of the Easter eggs and the connections through others. I am looking forward to the Marvels coming out though in November. You know, just because I am, and like you said, representation and it matters, and I want to support. So, but that's something different. But yeah, and that's the thing. It is so character driven, and it tells a story, and it has representation. Like this is a different type of checklist where it meets all of those things for people who want to get back to the time, the simpler time, more character, uh, not the big AI computer generated green screen graphics and all of that kind of stuff. Not saying they weren't in here, but it was more about the characters. It was more about the story. It told a story, and I love that. You know, it wasn't trying to name drop all these different superheroes to make a connection to a wider universe. It wasn't too busy trying to fit in some random gem or Easter egg that connects to a different connects to a different series, so forth and so on. And so you know, and so I think we need to get back to that. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you see this movie. I've recommended it to everyone I could think of too. I'm like, hey, Blue Beetle is really, really good.
I
And
just want them to go see it. Sorry, I apologize for interrupting you.
no, go ahead.
But I just want them to really see it for the representation part.
Yeah,
Like we push that. Like I want their like how we came out for Black Panther. Like I want that. Like I want them to come out for Blue Beetle. So I went and talked to I talked to we had some helpers as we were preparing for the new year, and I was just like, yo, go see Blue Beetle. And they were like, why? And I was just like, because it's about a Mexican American family, and one of them is a superhero. Like representation. I said, go see your people. I was just like, support. And so I'm like, go and watch this movie just for representation alone. Like sit your behind in the theater and just watch it for representation, because
yeah,
it's about a superhero that is Mexican American. Just like we promote when Miles Morales came out in the Spider-Verse. And this was a Hispanic Black kid, okay, and different from Tom Holland. I said, you got to go see it. Just sit in the theater and just watch it. It don't matter if you want to see it or not, because everybody know I don't do cartoon movies, but I went to go see it, and I don't do cartoon don't do
I
cartoons.
loved it.
No, no,
I did
and
it.
I'm not saying it was bad because I actually enjoyed it as well. But if I like, or like, I don't go. Like, I just don't do cartoon movies. I just say that. But I went anyway, and I definitely enjoyed it. But it's just for representation. I have been promoting it and telling everybody to go see it, just because you want to show that those movies sell, that people are interested in seeing themselves on the big screen. Because if you
Yeah.
don't show that in the success of these movies, they stop doing these movies because they think this is not what we want. And that's the whole thing. Let me get off my soapbox now. My bad.
No, and I get it. And again, I go back to I really hate that it came out when it came out during this actor strike because the actors didn't get a chance to go promote the movie. The studio did shit by it as far as promoting it too. Like even and this is just me. Um, even if the actors if I've made the decision to put it out there and I spent the money, the money, and it's on the calendar, I'm going to promote it. I'm going to do at least do some TV runs for it and some stuff like that. But and again, it begs the question: why wasn't it promoted the way that they still could have done for the studios? Granted, they're not promoting a lot some of the movies, but I still think it should have gotten more of a pub run, of a PR run from the studio since they made the decision to continue to put it out there. That's just me. But um, I agree. I'm all about representation. I'm all about seeing people of color in these roles, and I want to continue to see people of color in these roles. I'm ready for the Asian American superhero, the Asian superhero. We have her, I guess, in Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. But still continue to see uh, us people of color in all these different roles that we can do these things too, that we want to see ourselves represented on screen in different genres and different roles and taking a lead in certain things. And it's kind of like we have to work twice as hard and we have to make just as much money to get another shot at doing this. And that's why I say I hope that the powers that be, that idiot dude who runs the WB. I hope he doesn't hold the numbers and the performance against it. You have to consider everything that was going on when you decided to release this movie. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
saying that, I really do hope we get a sequel, and that leads to the next question. I want to know what happened to her dad. I want to know who the ghost in the machine is. I want to know who they're going to see, who they're going to get to play her dad. I want to, because I kind of knew her dad wasn't exactly dead, but I'm like, damn, did he get trapped in the computer? Like, where is he? So that I think that would probably be a great story to tell. In the second one is what happened to her dad, what happened to the original Blue Beetle, and is it going to tie back to her aunt? Did her aunt have something to do with it, or what have you? But yeah. So, what is something you hope to see for the sequel?
Um, on like kind of piggybacking off of what you said, does her dad, once they get him out, is he gonna have powers?
Yeah.
Since he's been in the game for a while, is he gonna come out with powers? Is he gonna come out evil? Like, is he gonna come out good? So that would be really, really interesting to see how the original Blue Beetle plays into the new Blue Beetle.
And how does he feel that the scarab chose him? Like, didn't he briefly have the scarab, but he could never get it to open
No,
or
his
never get?
friend, his yeah,
Mm,
he had it in his possession, but the Blue Beetle only chose, what was it, like one of his friends or something like that.
yeah. So how would he feel knowing that? Like, and I think that would be so interesting. Like, there's so much you could play on that story. So I really would hope to see it. Like I said, I hope we get a great sequel. And if you want to kind of base your new world, the foundation on these lesser known characters and not just keep on with the bat. Well, although we are getting another Batman or whatever, which I think was great. But anyway, I would love to see that. Okay, so what are you rating Blue Beetle? You got anything else before I just head us up to the
No,
ratings?
let's go to rating.
Okay, where are you rating? How many popcorns are you giving the Blue Beetle?
So I am going to give the Blue Beetle 4 popcorns. Like I said, I actually really enjoyed it. I love that it gave me the feeling of how superheroes movies were at the beginning of the Marvel universe, even giving me kind of the feeling of how it was when I watched Wonder Woman, and just wondering like what's going to happen next and really wanting a sequel. So 4 popcorns, really, really good. Enjoy it. I suggest that everybody goes and gives it a shot. What about you, Eddie?
I agree. Great minds think alike. I got 4 popcorns, and I hope we get a chance to see more of Jaime Reyes and the Blue Beetle story. The sense of nostalgia to great character-driven storytelling. It even works in superhero movies and comic book movies. I think I think we forget that not just in comic book and superhero movies, but a lot of movies, especially this genre and the action thriller genre. Sometimes we forget that it's not just about shoot 'em up, kick their ass, bang, bang, bang. Say a couple of words, but actually, there, it needs to be story and character based. Those are the ones that are the best.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, but I agree with you. All right then. Well, I guess that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Please be sure to like, listen, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Bookmark us, keep us up, so you can hit up in the notifications when we publish. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment pop culture news as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the popcornwinddown.com. I will be honest and say I got to go back and update that for y'all. I'm there. I know. Your girl's been slacking, but I had a lot going on in the mental. But it's getting good. I'm back. I'm back. Anyway, that's it. That's the plug.
Pop, pop,
Um,
pop, pop, pop,
pop, pop,
pop.
pop. Thank you as always, and be sure to join us next week when we review. I'm looking forward to this. Red, White, and Royal Blue. There's a book also if you want to read the book before you check out the movie. Streaming currently on Prime. You've already watched it, right?
Yes,
And you read the book.
I did.
Okay, I'm gonna save that conversation. I have not read the book, but I am going to watch it. So I'm going to save that conversation until next time. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.